Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Um, so we've had some technical difficulties, obviously. Um, so give me a second here just to get my bearings. Um, First of all, I want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm sure that it's been a hectic week for you, given that you're celebrating your birthday. You've got the festival coming up. You're a family man. You're a musician. So there's just a lot that you're having to juggle.
Yeah, I like to keep myself busy.
Yeah, it sounds like it. um, but yeah, tell us a little bit about your birthday plans. I know you said that you're doing a big celebration tonight.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm 41 today. When I turned 40, it was during the whole shutdown, so wasn't able to celebrate that. So we're just going to be up at Reggie's. I got some great musicians, longtime friends of mine coming in from all from out of town. I got my friend Rachel Brooke and her band coming from Michigan. We got Robin McDumphy coming from Appleton, Wisconsin, just to play. So it's going to be a good time. You might see people walking in and out during this interview as well. I got some friends meeting over here.
No worries. So the festival this weekend is huge. It's like quite a lineup.
Thank you.
I just saw the Casualties last night in Tulsa.
Great.
It was a fucking killer show. You guys are really in for it.
Man.
I wanted to ask you, when's the last time you saw the Casualties?
I saw them. I actually flew out to Denver for the first half of this tour when they were on tour with Pinata Protest. I have a bunch of friends out in Denver, and I was going to visit friends, and then I saw they were in town the same weekend. So I'm like, fuck, how great is that? So I was able to catch up with them and see the show. That was my second or third time seeing them with David, and I gotta say, like, just the whole, like, he's amazing on stage, and he brought the energy out of the other three guys too. Like they're playing like they're in their fucking 20s, dude. It's amazing. Like it's a show.
Yeah, from the very beginning of this,
I can't hear you again. I'm sorry.
From the very beginning of the set last night, it was insane. I mean, they just sounded remarkable.
Yeah.
And I have not seen them with David before last night. And the last time I saw them was like the early 2000s. I think it was like 2005 or something.
Okay.
But I've known David for a long time, and he's an exceptional front man.
Yeah.
So to see him fronting the Casualties was so awesome because, like you said, he's just got that energy and the charisma.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we're talking, it's Tuesday night. They're playing Oklahoma, so your expectation level, my expectation level was pretty low. I wasn't sure how many people were going to be there. It was a smaller venue. And when I got there, the band before them, younger band, that the crowd didn't know. And the crowd was just, they seemed very relaxed. And so I was like, man, I hope that, things start looking like a Casualty show here whenever they take the stage.
Yeah.
And, just the way Dave commanded the audience.
Yeah, it's insane.
He got them on their feet, and the circle pit started in no time.
Yep.
And, it was crazy. And it was just a lot of fun. So
good. Yeah, it's I mean, I loved them for years and years, but I mean, the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I mean, it's a whole different show, and it's just so much hype, and like just the crowd interaction. Like they all go all out, man. And to think that they do this every fucking day, it's like, how can you keep that? And they do a good hour 15, and like nonstop energy. Fucking, it's crazy. It's a great fucking stage show.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I was surprised at how long the set was. They could have just phoned it in and like kind of cut it short last night. They didn't, which is great because, it shows me that they actually have really rehearsed hard for this tour. And I'm sure that by the time they get up there to Chicago for the festival, they're just going to be firing on all cylinders. And it'll be incredible. Have you booked them in the past, or is this your first time booking them?
I have been working with the Casualties and Crawl Space for 21 years now.
Okay, so
it was the Die Hards tour. Is the first time I ever booked the Casualties.
Okay.
I'm really sorry, dude. Like, I still cannot hear you. Like, I gotta put my ear like right up to it. I got it blasted on my side.
I'm not sure what the issue is because I can hear you clearly, and I've got my phone all the way up. Let me see.
Is there anything like I should be like pushing? Like my volume's all the way up. Nope.
I don't know. I just adjusted the settings to
have people just have to get close-ups on my face because I can't hear.
We can always I don't want to end the video.
No.
If we don't have to. Is there another setting on your side maybe that are you?
Let me make sure. I'm really sorry. I don't know what the deal is. I tried to turn up the volume. I don't know.
Okay. Any different?
It's a little better. Still pretty quiet, but that will do a lot better.
Okay.
Cool.
So you said you've been working with the Casualties and Crawl Space Booking for 21 years?
21 years.
That's incredible, man. How have you seen the scene change in that amount of time?
How has the scene changed?
Yeah, how have you seen it change?
I mean, the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, it was at its peak. Are you talking about the whole street punk scene as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, especially as a promoter.
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously not many bands have remained. A lot of new bands, clearly. I mean, to go for over 20 years is very fucking hard to do. So there's a couple lifers out there. And just as a whole, I mean, it's more special now, like, to get, like, big fest like Sounds of the Street because they're getting the older bands back together and getting some new bands and stuff. And I'm just trying to involve, like, everybody. But I can't really explain how it changed. Like, it's not quite as nationally known as it was, like, in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, because Casualties and, like, the Unseen were on, like, Warped Tour and shit, which was huge. And I think you could buy a Casualties shirt at, like, Hot Topic back in the day. So it kind of went more underground, but, I mean, it's still doing good and people are still coming out.
So let's go back a little bit then to your personal history. Since you've been booking for 21 years, how long have you been in the scene just as a fan? What got you into the scene?
Punk rock as a whole, I got into like 8th grade. My friend gave me the Energy by Op Ivy on a tape, on a Maxwell tape. Some people probably don't remember what those are. But street punk, actually, I didn't get into until I was like 19 or 20. I actually was dating a girl who was a huge Casualties fan. And that was the first time I heard him. And I was just like blown away because I was always into like heavier music. And that's like the first time I just like heard straight up screaming nonstop. And it completely changed like my lifestyle, the way I fucking presented myself and everything. And it was a big change. And like the Casualties and again, the Unseen were the first two bands I heard. And so, yeah, I was probably about 19 or 20 years old though. So it was a little bit later.
And you're, like I said before, you're also a musician. So at what age did you start trying to put together a band?
What made me start to put together? I've been playing in bands since I was 15. Started out with some crappy punk bands. Actually, like the day I got my guitar, I called my friends and asked to join a band. So like a lot of people do, like we didn't have any talent, but we fucking tried anyway. And then I was in more of an alternative rock band in like high school. And then probably when I turned 20 is when I started my first street punk band, Failed Resistance. And we toured with the Casualties and the Unseen and a lot of other bands. We played with Global Threat a bunch. So yeah, we did that from 2001 to like 2005, maybe. And then I had to step back because my girlfriend at the time was pregnant, and I decided to rather be on the road all the time, making very minimal money. I'd rather be at home raising my kid. But I never stopped playing, just kind of stopped touring.
And what was it that kind of got you down the path of becoming a booking promoter?
That started when I was 15. There was just nowhere for these high school bands to play, so I would rent out like gymnasiums in like sketchy neighborhoods and stuff. Because wherever would let a 15-year-old kid rent places and have 8, 9 bands, and we'd get 200, 300 people there. It was ridiculous, and that was the beginning of my booking. So yeah, 15. And I just wanted to do it. No one else, you know, it's a lot of people don't want to deal with that shit. They want to play and perform, but getting into the details and the logistics, it's not for everyone. But I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, since you started doing that at the age of 15 and also being in bands that age, it's basically been, you know, a simultaneous thing for you this whole time.
Yeah.
Pretty unique.
Yeah. And you know, it was cool because, I mean, I did it. It was nice to get, you know, my band shows too, but I did it for everybody, not just myself, obviously.
So since you are a musician and you're a booking agent or a promoter, do you have a certain criteria that you look for in local bands when deciding who to book for, whether it's a festival or just a local gig, or, you know, a tour package is coming through and you need a local opener? Is there some criteria there that you're looking for?
I have to know them first. It could be the best band ever, but I have to at least hang out with them once and make sure they're good people. That's my main, like, booking my friends is like what I like to do. And if my friends are in incredible bands, that just makes it even better. And of course, they've got to be good, you know? So, and I tend to get like the bands I like the most, like I use them quite a bit for sure. It takes something special to really stand out. Obviously, with all the bands today, especially in Chicago, there's so many. And like what I got on Sounds of the Street, I got like the best punk rock bands from Chicago on the undercard, like the best. Like you're not gonna get there early and be disappointed by any means.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw in my intro that I was doing before I was getting you on here. I was talking about some of those local bands and how we have them on our Rebellion Noise 2022 Spotify playlist. And also encouraging people to make it out to the show early so that they can see the bands, because you know, young bands, they're coming up in a totally different landscape than, you know, guys like yourself and myself did. And it seems like kind of getting new people interested in young bands, I think, is harder these days.
It is.
So there's more resources now with streaming and social media and the internet to like bring your attention to those bands. It seems like it's still really hard for young bands to get in the faces of new listeners and fans.
It is, absolutely. Again, that's it's oversaturated a bit. There's just so many bands. There's so many shows, especially in a big city like Chicago. You know, there's shows every night of the week, obviously, and people, and even, I know you're saying younger bands, but a lot of these people in the newer bands, a lot of them are still like our age and shit, still fucking doing it hard and shit. So yeah, it's hard to convince people to really take the chance and go out to a fucking show and get going for the first time. You know, it's like so many people are, the Facebook events don't even work anymore. Facebook event pages. It's like, so it's hard still, even though with this like social media shit, it's still hard to get the word around and make your event seem special, you know?
Absolutely. And, you know, I had the same discussion with Bill Johnston when I interviewed him a couple weeks ago when he was promoting 40 Fest. And one of the things we talked about was how in the old days, it was common to have physical flyers at a show. Yeah. And now it seems like, you know, that's almost just gone completely out the window. But I think that, like you're saying, because Facebook event pages are no longer working.
Nope.
And, you know, it's so easy to just disregard a digital image that comes across your phone screen when you're scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I think we're kind of entering this new era where we need to bring back some of the things from the past that were really effective, like physical flyers.
Yeah. Well, we actually did that like a couple of shows. Me and the singer of Citizen, Claudia, we hit up local punk shows and handed out handbills for Sounds of the Streets. Like, yeah, so we kind of like, I haven't done that in a long time, but yeah, it kind of like even like bands on Facebook, people don't see those fucking posts anymore. Like, you got to pay, and even when you pay, people still don't see them. Yeah, it's hard. It was good there for a couple of years there with Facebook. Like, you'd get like 300 people saying they're going to your event, and now I think like, you know, regular local shows, you get like 3 people saying they're attending and shit, but people still come out. But yeah, going back to physical flyers might be the way to go.
When you said that you were passing out handbills for this show, did you have like cardstock style cards?
No, we just went thin paper, man. No, I mean, that's just expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive. I mean, it looks nice and clean and professional, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's really popular, I think, for festival shows. But in the punk rock community, man, just DIY with cutout magazine clippings and a glue stick and white and black, you know, is really all you need to make a badass looking flyer.
Quarter-page flyers, people could fold them up, put them in their pocket, go through their pockets, remember that shit, you know?
Same thing, yeah, that I was talking about with Bill. Like, I have a lot of those old flyers. They're tacked up in my closet because there's just a lot of good memories.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, to anybody that's watching right now, especially you younger fans that might just be kind of getting into the scene, or maybe you've been in it for a couple of years and you have the time to put together a badass flyer for a show and actually go and pass it out at other shows leading up to the date. Take that initiative and do it, because, you know, when you get older and you have a family and a job and all of these other things, it's really difficult to make the time for that. But, you know, this is a youth-led movement.
Yeah.
And the Gen Z is really the next face of this scene.
Yes.
And I want to encourage all of you in Gen Z to think about these things from the past that benefited the scene and how we can implement those things today to make it thrive even more. So yeah, make flyers. Yeah,
actually, when I went to Denver, like when I was talking to see the Casualty show, we made like 300 quarter-page flyers, and me and Ben from the Stick Ups and a couple of other friends from Denver passed them. And David took a bunch and threw them out during their set. So yeah, we went old school for sure.
Another thing that I want to bring up real quick for the audience is they can submit questions here for us to answer. Today we're in a little bit of a unique situation since we weren't able to go live as the host from the Havoc's page. So that's going to be on your end. So if you see that on your screen, there's a little question mark down there at the bottom. If someone submits questions for that, you'll see a little number pop up.
Okay. And I can see comments. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's actually not comments. It's a whole other icon down there at the bottom. It should be a little question mark.
The question mark. Got it.
Yeah. And if someone...
No questions yet.
Okay. If they do, you'll see the number rise there. And then we can...
Okay, cool. Good to know.
To see about answering some audience questions. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the unseen.
The unseen.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Obviously, top billing band.
Yep. Everyone
gets excited when they're booked for something because they don't play that often.
No.
And like everything that we've been dealing with for the past 2 years with COVID and all that has really just, you know, wreaked havoc on the scene, wreaked havoc on live entertainment.
The whole business, man.
The whole business. And this is another prime example. What was going through your head whenever you got the news that they had to cancel?
Panic, stress. When you wake up to a phone message from Stormy Shepherd, you know something's up. So yeah, she does on her cell phone. So yeah, you know there's gonna be problems. Yeah, a lot of panic. Kind of figured when I was calling her back that was gonna be the news. So yeah, quickly got on my phone, got on my computer, and did as best as I could. And I had some really old friends from 20 years back fucking step up for me and take their spot, and we were able to announce the Street Rats when we announced the Unseen canceling. And if it wasn't for them, I would be in a lot more trouble, I think, for sure.
And did they reach out to you, or did you call them?
Street Rats?
Yes.
I've been trying to get them to do a show in Chicago for a couple years, and like, I've been friends with Max. Like, he actually used to play bass in my old band for a while, and Street Rats and his old band used to party together. I had a punk house back in the city, and we had shows in our basement. So we go way back, and yeah, I've been reaching out for him for a little, and he just never, agreed. And then I kind of told him my situation, and he stepped up huge, man, and fucking agreed to do it. The whole band agreed to do it within like an hour of me asking them. So I fucking went out, got new art made, and announced it all at once. And I think we had 4 refunds after the Unseen cancel. So that's not bad.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how swiftly you were able to announce a replacement. And, it seemed like you just handled that very professionally. So hats off to you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was scramble mode for sure. And Street Rats were my only choice. Like, if they would have not agreed to it, I don't know where I would have went next. Like, I really didn't have any options beyond them.
So I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, since that happened, have you had a chance to talk with the Unseen about a replacement date?
Yeah, we're going to wait until Scotty's baby is born, but we're expecting to bring them to Reggie's. I think we're shooting for like June, July.
When's the last time you saw those guys play?
I think their last 3 Chicago shows were all at Reggie's that I booked. It had to be about 7 years ago was the last time we had them.
Long time, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, it kind of probably was just like a punch to the gut hearing that they canceled. But I got to think that you probably weren't too surprised, just given the circumstances with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
And I hate to keep, bringing this topic up, but it seems like it's relevant and it has to be addressed. Last night when I went and saw the Casualties at the venue, before I even entered, the door guy asked me if I had a negative COVID test or if I had a COVID-19 vaccination card. Are you requiring that same thing at your fest?
It's Chicago-wide. We don't even accept negative COVID tests anymore. It's got to be vaccinated 2 weeks after your second shot. So, I mean, that's a hit, too. And once we announced that, we had a couple refunds after that as well. But not too many. Nothing to, like, really get, worry about. But, yeah, it's I don't know. It's shutting out some people for sure. But, yeah, it's citywide. And, like, that's not something, but like before it was mandatory. We were one of the few venues in Chicago that didn't require that. So now, obviously, we have to follow the guidelines and do all that.
What do you think that means for the future of live events? Do you think that this is just a temporary situation, or do you think that this is going to be permanent?
I mean, if we finally see numbers go down, I mean, all we can do is really hope for the best. I guess as soon as, I don't know. I could see it going on for at least another year, though. Good for the good future. Numbers have to go like way down before regulations change, I think.
Let's talk a little bit about, again, working with local bands, because I think that a lot of young bands that are just totally new to getting onto a show or trying to book with you, etc. There's several different methods that promoters use these days when working with new bands. And one of them is the whole pre-sale tickets, or also known as pay to play. And I think you're in a little bit of a unique position with your perspective, because you're not just a promoter, you're also a musician in bands. How do you feel about that approach of pre-sale, or also known as pay to play?
Pay to play is garbage. I would never done it. We'll never do it. We'll never play a show like that. We'll never expect bands to do that. Not a way to go about business. I don't. And usually the venues that do that, the promoters that do that, aren't around very long. Mm. I mean, you got to scope out the band. You got to go see them play yourself. You know, see what their draw is, see what the whole aesthetic of the band and everything before you book them. But I mean, venues that usually do that probably don't even listen to the band before they book them. It's like, hey, here, if you could sell 30 tickets, probably don't even care if the band's tight, you know? They're more, I mean, obviously you got to be concerned with the business side and the numbers side to stay in business. But I mean, those kind of promoters and venues, it's 100% business and dollars. Where me, at least, and I could speak for all of Reggie's, we're 100% about the artists and, you know, making them happy. We treat our artists better than anywhere. I mean, hands down, like everybody that's ever played Reggie's always wants to come back. We make every band feel special. I mean, they are special. They're fucking playing our stage. It's important to us. And yeah, pay to play is not my thing.
So you mentioned the business side of things and how that is important. So I do want to talk about that a little bit too, because sure. I think it's just insightful for listeners. When it comes again to local bands, do you pay your local bands to play, or is it just kind of like you give them the opportunity to play the show and sell merchandise? Is paying local bands important to you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, being the budget was so big for Sounds of the Street with just the headliners, I had one set price for every local band to play, and it wasn't as much as I normally would like to pay a band. But yeah, I mean, no bands ever walk away empty-handed. We could have 5 people at a show, and the owner would take out of his pocket to give you at least something, you know. But yeah, I don't even think one local band on this show even asked about pay. So I mean, there's so much love with all these bands that just want to get out there in front of a new crowd and play on a fucking big stage with some, you know, lifelong big bands, you know. And I can't remember. I don't think one local band asked, "Hey, what are we getting paid?" I really don't think they did.
So another question about the business side of things, but this time about bigger bands headlining touring acts. Some promoters have an agreement with bands that come through that they take a percentage of their merch sales.
Not us. Never. No, that's bread and butter for bands, man. No, we got 0% on our end for merch rates.
And let's talk about that a little bit too, with bigger bands and how things have shifted with the business end of things since the introduction of downloading and streaming. Bands aren't selling physical records like they used to. I mean, some of them are still selling them, but they're not selling the same kind of numbers.
They can't count on it for, you know, income by any means.
So what has been kind of the biggest change that you've seen in terms of maybe contracts with bands, or how they are handling their side of business because of this shift with everything being digital?
I mean, you gotta make it worth it for the bands, you know. I mean, a couple of the bands, you know, we're flying them out, obviously, or else, you know, they couldn't even afford to get out here. So even the headliners, I mean, it's, you know, they're obviously concerned with getting paid and whatnot, but like, they just want to be a part of this too. So, but contract wise, I don't know exactly. I don't talk numbers, so I don't know exactly what you're talking, like saying.
Yeah, I just meant like, you know, a lot of it is about numbers actually. And if you're not comfortable talking about numbers, that's fine. Again, I'm asking some of these questions primarily so that the listeners, the viewers actually understand that these things are common in business with touring bands and what happens with local bands. I can tell just by some of the comments, people are like, what the fuck? There's actually promoters that take from merch sales. The answer is yes.
I know venues in Chicago that do that.
And that's why, for all of you that are listening and watching, it's so important for you to promote these bands. No, I'm sorry, not promote, support these bands while they're on the road. Go to their merch table, pick something up for you and a friend. And of course, the headliners, you know, they're out there grinding and they've got to make it to the next gig. Yep. And if they're, you know, a more well-known band, they're getting that guarantee from the promoter so that they can make it to the next gig. But they also have a lot of other costs that they have to take into consideration. And they rely on those merch sales for that. And then the younger bands, everything that they're trying to do, they can't do if they don't make any merch sales.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Merch is huge. I mean, even say you're in a local band and you're getting, you know, not a ton of money to play as fast. If you do even 50 to $100 on merch, that's huge for them, you know? Absolutely huge. And like bands like Casualties, I mean, they bank on that. That's part of like kind of part of their pay. Like they figure that in with what they're like they're gonna do, you know, X amount of numbers at the merch every day, and they're so good with that. Like they have like 6 shirts to choose from, you know. Like they've always been merch maniacs, and you got to do that for sure.
So everybody, of course, knows about Sounds of the Street Fest, but that's not the only festival that you're involved with. Let's talk about Moonrunners.
Yeah.
Tell us about your history with that and what it's all about.
Moonrunners, we're celebrating our 10th year in May, actually. Not many independent fests last that long, so that's huge. That's really exciting for me. That's my passion. I started that out. I really got into what they call roots music, which is like older punk dudes playing like country and bluegrass now. And it's this fast bluegrass, intense picking, really this great music. And I got into that heavily, and there wasn't much like a lot of that in Chicago. And when these roots bands, country bands would come play Chicago, not many people would come. The turnout wasn't too good. So I just wanted to get them all together, get a couple of bigger headliners, and treat people to something great. And since year one, we've sold out every single year but one. And maybe the last 4 years, 5 years, I got like intensely into folk punk, which is something I wasn't really involved with for a long time until I met Jahshie from Escape from the Zoo and Days and Days. And we became, I didn't even know who his bands were before I met him. And he turned me on to this whole thing, and I discovered so many artists. And so it's kind of taken a turn. I still got the roots in country for sure, but I'd say it's like 50-50 now, folk punk. And it's like two crowds coming together, and all of the crowds like all the bands. Like it's cool. It works together and flows very well. And it's exciting going on year 10. And it's always been at Reggie's, 2 stages. And it's just a really good time for sure.
Awesome. I want to address something real quick. We kind of got to a late start today.
Sorry.
That's okay. If you're okay with pushing the time, you know, like maybe another 10 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. And then also, have you seen any questions pop up on your end?
Yeah, I got one from Johnny Terror. He said, who is my favorite street punk band at the moment? Obviously, there's all the classics, but up and coming, those kids Stolen Wheelchairs, dude. They're good. That kid could scream.
He can, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed that they aren't starting off the tour with the Casualties, them and Bitches, because I was really hoping to catch both of them at this show in Tulsa, but I guess I'm just going to have to wait. But yeah, everybody that's watching, check out Stolen Wheelchairs and Rotten Stitches, both great bands. They definitely deserve the promotion that they're getting for this.
It's a good package, real good package.
I think that's one of the cool things too about the Casualties is, you know, they're bringing out, you know, younger bands, even though like Rotten Stitches have been around for 10 years now. Yep. There's, you know, they could just choose to go out on tour and be a support act to somebody bigger, like they've done a lot in the past. But the fact that they are doing their own headline run and bringing out some of the up and comers, I think is really awesome.
Yeah, it is. And like when I saw they were taking out Pinata Protest, man, that's another reason I went to Denver that weekend. I'm like, Pinata Protest is one of my headliners for Moonrunners. So I was like, whoa, both my headliners fucking playing together. That's great. And like totally different bands. And that band kills live too, Pinata Protest. What a show, like for sure. But it worked together. And, you know, to compare it to like the late 90s, early 2000s, it seems like the, you know, punks, hardcore punks, like they're more open to different stuff. Like back then you had to be, you know, one style of music. Like every band had to hit hard and go, you know, be fucking thrash, street punk type shit. I think they're more accepting these days for sure.
I would agree. I think back then things felt a lot more militant in the scene. You know, it was kind of like you had to pass this certain test of not only how you sound, but how you look. And I like the fact that in today's landscape, that doesn't seem to be the case. There's a lot more open-mindedness, and I love it.
Absolutely. I got another question.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hold on, let me. 40-ounce booking. What brings you the most joy in doing this, and what's the biggest pain in the ass? Biggest pain in the ass is always the business end, of course, and the details, the fine details. You know, bands need itineraries. Every little detail, hotel room, but you know, all that. I love it. I have a passion for it, or else I wouldn't be doing it. But the most joy is when that first band fucking starts and I could relax a little bit. Tickets have been sold. We broke even. And just the best part is getting, like, I book bands I like. So I get 2 days of sets I want to see. So that as a fan, that's definitely the most joy is just watching the performers.
We announced yesterday that we were going to have a mystery guest on. And so I want to let the audience know that stick around because we're going to be bringing out the mystery guest soon. But
he's got to work soon, so we should do that quick.
Okay. Before we jump into that, though, I just have a couple more quick questions I want to ask you.
Okay.
Something a little bit more on the fun side.
I like fun.
You're in a unique position as a promoter because at the show, you see what happens behind closed doors, basically. What behind the scenes. What is the craziest thing you've seen from a band on tour, you know, backstage?
I can't get into that. I don't know.
Nothing funny or
just a lot of bands like to party. I mean, Moonrunners, I mean, we're kind of known for partying a little bit and having a good time. The artists know that, you know, just kind of, that's all I'll say. People like to have fun and have a good time and enjoy themselves. The artists like to, it's not business when it comes down to this type of shit. They want to have a good time and enjoy themselves as well. I don't have any like crazy like demands or anything like that, though. However,
What about, I mean, you've seen a ton of shows, and that means that you've seen all sorts of different things happen on stage while bands are performing. What would be like the you know, kind of the craziest thing that you've seen happen while a band was playing that could have totally ruined their set?
this will go back to fucking Denver, dude. David went up on the balcony at the fucking show with his mic cord and mic and everything. Fucking did a flip into the. What if they dropped him? He'd be dead. He would have broken his neck. But in recent memory, I was like, dude, that's risky shit. Like, he was 15 feet up, dude, and just did a flip. What if those kids dropped him or just didn't feel like putting their hands up? Like that was intense, dude. Like, you don't see that a lot these days.
What band is on your bucket list that you'd love to book?
Artist that I never will book, but I did reach out to for Moonrunners, which was this way beyond my league, was Dolly Parton. I mean, that's like my dream that I'll never get to, but Dolly for sure.
Did you reach out to her people?
Yeah, I got in touch with the fucking agent. Yeah, I got to spend like 10 minutes on the phone with her agent.
That's awesome.
So that just there was kind of that was kind of cool, just to be able to get in touch with the agent.
What did the agent say?
Just gave me a price, and I was like, okay. And he's like, is there anybody else I could interest you in? I'm like, and most of his stuff is pop country, artists and shit. I'm like, no, just Dolly.
You know, it's funny. My wife is a huge Dolly Parton fan. And so anytime something Dolly is happening, I'm aware of it. And she was just on some morning show promoting her birthday and how she's doing a collaboration with some, I don't know what company it is, but she's doing birthday, like, cakes. She's making cakes now.
Yeah.
It's such a trip. But man, like, she is one of the few artists that no one has any bad shit to say.
No, she's a gem.
She's always just spoken with such high regard. And I love it.
Maybe I'll meet her one day and she'll give me a big discount.
Honestly, dude, that's like when you said that it would never happen. I was thinking, you know what? You don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's my dream. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where Moonrunners goes. There's been talks about, I mean, before the pandemic, about, you know, possibly making it bigger, going outside somewhere. But those talks have stalled since the last 2 years. But you never know what the future holds, for sure. I'll say that much.
Okay. Last question before we bring out our mystery guest. What would you say has been your biggest success as a promoter?
I would say just going, it would be Moonrunners, fucking 10 years. I mean, I would say 5 years was insane. 2 years was insane. Like, a lot of these come and go fest, man, they do a year and they're done. 2 years, like, the fact that, like, I was able to reinvent it and keep it going and interesting and not be stale. That's definitely, I mean, every year is just a blessing to me. And it's just, I'm shocked that, you know, this works out, that this is working out so well. Like, hopefully Sounds of the Street will do the same.
Awesome. Well, congrats on this fest, man. I really wish I could be there to attend. I was heavily contemplating it. But it's kind of tough. It's about a 12-hour drive for me. I've got a 6-month-old, and just driving an hour and a half last night to see the casualties was like pulling teeth. So
yeah. If we do 2023, got to get the Havoc on, man.
We would love to be a part of it, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, 2023, I think, is going to be a really good year for live music. I think there's going to be a lot of the bounce back from COVID. And a lot of bands that have been working on new material are going to be ready to release it, including us. So, yeah, man, we'd love to be a part of it. Great. That would be awesome. Having said that, let's go ahead and reveal who our mystery guest is. Okay. Come here, Tyler. He's coming. All right.
You don't really, you can't hear him hardly at all.
Oh, yeah, I thought you had a headphone.
No, I don't have headphones on. You gotta...
Oh, you have a call.
Oh, let's turn up the call.
All right. Yeah, how's it going?